All right, let's get going on this. This is the homework number 2, or chapter 2, homework number 4. This is still continuation from the big heat. The race, this is heat, the big heat, excuse me, the big race, heat number 3. All right. So, Barbara, Mark, Carlos participated in third heat of the big race. Barbara thought she could win with a 3-meter head start, even though she only pedaled 3 meters every 2 seconds. Okay, let me go ahead and color code this. I work better with this. So let's see, Barbara, she 3-meter head start, and she pedals 3 meters every 2 seconds. Okay. Mark began at the starting line. So Barbara got a head start. Mark, he starts at the starting line and finished the 20-meter race in 5 seconds. So I don't know what that is, but let's talk about that when we get there. And then Carlos rode his tricycle so that his distance from the start line in meters could be represented by this equation. Okay, so Carlos is given an equation of 5 half x. I think that's a 5. Let me see. Let me peek. Yep, that's a 5. Plus 1. Okay, so what is the dependent and what is the independent variable? Okay, so I don't know if you've talked about this in a while, but the dependent variable, okay, so the dependent variable is the distance, which is measured in meters. Okay. The independent variable let me move this up a little bit. Okay, the independent variable is the time, which is measured in seconds, right? So dependent is the distance, because to move any distance, there has to be the time, okay? And time is the independent, because regardless of what you do, whether you move or stand still or not show up to the race, time still keeps going. So time does not depend, or time does not need anything to happen. Time just keeps going. Whereas the distance, okay, you need the time to go in order for you to go some distances. Okay, so using the given information, graph the lines for Barbara, Mark, and Carlos on the same set of axes. Who won the 20-meter race and will advance to the final race? All right, so let's see. So here's a graph right here. It's a big old graph. Right, so on the side, let's go ahead and label our dependent variable. So this is your distance axis, or your y-axis. This is measured in meters. Okay, usually we use the little m for that. Okay, this is your time, and we use seconds, and we use a little s for that. Okay, so let's go back and let's look. Let's start with the equation. Let's do Carlos first, because Carlos has this equation right here. Carlos has an equation of, basically this is how Carlos moves, right? So he starts at 1 and he goes 5 meters every 2 seconds, and that's how you read this little slope. 5 meters for every 2 seconds. Okay, and he starts at 1. That's where starting location is. So on the y-axis, or on the distance axis, Carlos is going to start at 1, and he's going to go 5. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for every 2 seconds. Okay, so that's all you need. You can keep going, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that and draw in my line. So this is Carlos. too much. Okay, so roughly there. So then I'm gonna just double check. Up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 2. Bam, hits it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 2. A little bit off. I can fix that. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I can fix that. A little bit off. So go ahead and fix my line right there. Okay. So that right there, that is what we call Carlos's path. So that's Carlos. And then if you want, you can kind of clear out the board a little bit. Like all these dots right here, you don't really need all those dots. Okay. Let's go to Barbara. Barbara thought she could win the race with a 3-meter head start. So we're going to go ahead since Barbara is red. 3-meter head start. 1, 2, 3. So she starts there. And then she's going to do, Barbara's going to do what? 3 meters every 2 seconds. Okay. So Barbara's going to go 1, 2, 3 for every 2. 1, 2. Okay, so you're going to draw the line, but actually, you know, I'm just going to keep doing 3 for every 2. So 1, 2, 3 for every 2, just so that I can have a little more accurate line. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. So I'm just going to do the step function. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. So you need to go through this point. So go ahead and draw my line. My line's going to start there. It's going to go through all of these, and especially it's going to end up at the last point. You can see that if I do that, I actually get most of these points as well. This one's maybe a little off. There it is. Much better. Okay. And again, I can erase all these just to clean up my board a little bit. Okay. And I do have some points on the board, right? You know, that point, and so forth. Okay. All right. So that one there is going to be Barbara. Just double check and see I spell it right. E-A-R-B-A-R-A. Kind of like Barbie. B-R-R-B. Bra. Okay. And lastly, we got Mark. Mark is in green. Mark began at the starting line and finishes the 20-meter race in 5 seconds. Oh, so we know how long the race is. So first, Mark, we need to start at the finish line or at the beginning, right there, and then we need to find 20. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like each of these are 5, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, and 20. So 20 would be all the way. 20 would be at the very top. Okay. And let me go ahead and clean that up a little bit. So this is Barbara finishes the 20-meter race in 5 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 right there. I'm going to put number 5 right here, just so I have an idea. So every one of those big blocks is 5. So Barbara, let me read it one more time. Barbara, or sorry, Mark. Oh my gosh, we already finished Barbara. Mark began at the starting line and finishes the 20-meter race in 5 seconds. So Mark is speed racer here. He's pretty fast. Right, so he's going to finish a 20-meter race, Marcus Green, in 5 minutes. So at 5, he finishes 20-meter race. So all I need is actually a line that connects his beginning to his end. So So Mark starts here, and he ends up right here. That's Mark. All right, that's your 3 racers. So let's see if we can answer some questions. Who won the 20-meter race and will advance to the final race? Well, I mean, looks like Mark's gonna win. He did in 5 seconds, and he got to 20 meters first, right? Because wherever gets to the 20 meter. Yeah, Mark did it in 5 seconds. Carlos, looks like Carlos got to 20 in right here, which is about maybe 7.5. And Barbara looks like she got it at 10, 11, maybe 11.5 or 11, a little bit after 11 seconds. Right? So I would say Mark wins. So who won the 20-meter race and will advance to the final race? Okay, so I would say Mark wins. The race. Or let's go and write down Mark wins heat number 3. Okay, let's be correct, right? So Mark wins heat 3. Part C, write equations that describe Barbara and Mark's motion. Okay, so let's start with Mark. Mark's easy. Mark starts, he's the one in green. Mark starts at 0. So Mark would be y equals, not sure yet, but it'll be plus 0. Okay. And Mark, and I'm trying to find some spots, but you know what? I mean, you can't find any, or if you're not sure about any, but you do know the 2. So Mark has a green at the beginning, and he has a green at the end. So you can just go, Mark is up 20, right? So his Mark's change in y is up all the way to 20. So the change in y is 20 and over 5. So the change in x is over 5. So that's your slope. Okay, so that's your slope is up 20 and over 5. So Mark really is 20 divided by 5 is 4. So let's see if that works. So for Mark, we could have just said Mark could have been up 4. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. Oh, and look, you get that. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. So Mark could have been, if we had seen this, we could have just said it was the slope was 4. So our equation for Mark, y equals 4x plus 0. And since it's 0, you don't have to put it, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. So this is Mark's equation. Group it together. I'm going to put it up here. So equation, oh, let's go on Mark. Okay, and then Barbara. Barbara is in, that's Carlos is blue, Barbara is red. Right? So Barbara let's look down here. Okay, let's see what Barbara is doing. This is all markings, and so that's Mark. Hey, let's just change it to red. Okay. Why write it again? Where's so Barbara, let's see. Oh, Barbara starts at, what number did she start? She starts at 1, 2, 3. So Barbara starts at 3, right? So when we write the equation for Barbara, y equals something, but it'll be plus 3. Barbara's slope is going to be up, let's see, all these red, right? So I'm going to use that one. So it looks like it's up 1, 2, 3, and 3 and over 2. So Barbara is going to be changing y is 3, changing x is 2, or 3/2 x plus 3. Okay. If you want, you can call it a different name. You can call it as 1.5, but I'm going to stay with 3/2 or 3 over 2 because it makes perfect sense to use a fraction because it makes it easy to count on the graph. So I'm going to go ahead and use 3 over 2. So that would be Barbara. So Barbara would be y equals 3/2 x plus 3. Okay. Okay, wrapping up this, I'm going to go ahead and move these guys. Mark is green, Carlos is blue, Barbara is red. I think playing around with this is so cool and fun at the same time. Oh, I want the homework. Let's group it together. Yeah. So fun. Alright, so how fast did Carlos pedal? Write your answer as a unit rate. So Carlos, if we want to find out how fast he pedals, we just got to find the slope, or just the change in y and the change in x in on the blue line, which is Carlos. So let's change that out to blue. Okay. So Carlos, let me see. Let's find some points. Oh, Carlos already has points. Here's one down here and there's one up here. So Carlos would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 2. So Carlos, the change in y would be 5, and change in x would be 2. So Carlos is 5/2. Or you can say Carlos pedals 5 meters every 2 seconds. That's what 5 over 2 means. Alright? Okay, and that is it. And no backside. Alright, that's a wrap.